Hey, 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 happy Thursday, y'all, and welcome to Bankroll Your Brains Thursdays. I'm Nicole Roberts Jones, the Bankroll Your Brains expert. Always excited and blessed to be here with you for another episode. So, those of you that are usually here with us, you know that we come to talk to you about one of three topics. One, what is your brands? The one thing God has created you to do in this world. And I take that from Matthew 5:16. Let your light so shine. Listen, I want your light to shine so bright that somebody needs a pair of shades to talk to you. Second is the value tied to it. And then the third is how do you create multiple streams of income from it? I'm always excited to bring experts in the arenas that surround your brilliance. And sometimes I come in and train you too. Hey, Renata. So you see Renata's here all the time, one of my OG original girls. So as she did, as my grandmother would say, they'll come in this house and not speak. So come on in, tell me name, tell me where you're joining from. And as I bring our expert up for this week, if she steps on your toes, good, tell her, give her some fire emojis. If she brings up topics that you have questions about, ask the questions in the chat. But third, if any of what she's sharing is valuable, not if, when, because I know it will be a win, I want you to share it. Share this conversation with others, all right? So our conversation for today is, would you marry you? Would you? Now, some of you will think, well, I don't need relationship advice. I need you to get this. Everywhere you go, there you are. This is not just about love relationships. When you are working a business, there are relationships present there. You got friends, don't you? Girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, fellas have boys night out and girls have girls night out. Yeah, there's relationships there too. So the question is, would you be in committed relationship with you? Would you commit to you? So even though our guest is an expert in relationships, it's not just married relationships, y'all. I need you to get that. So with that, let me introduce her so we can bring her up. Her name is Placida Braswell. She is a relationship coach who partners with couples to bring the real and disrupt the fluff. Come on, somebody who ready to disrupt the fluff, to redefine the relationship so they can enjoy long and sustaining love. With over 20 years of experience in ministry leadership and as a behavioral health consultant, Placida has a commitment to change lives and strengthen families. She is also a co-founder of Brass Wellness Group alongside her husband, Eric, where together they work both with individuals and groups, and I was going to say and couples. Well, that's obvious. And families to move beyond their pain to create the life of love they truly desire. So y'all help me welcome Miss Placida. Hey, girl.
Oh, hey. Hey, girl.
So,
hey.
How are you? I'm good. I'm good. Look, I'm about to go all the way in already, trying to close my email because my email's making noise and y'all know I'm easily disrupted. Come on, Eric is here. I see you, Eric. So with that said, let's dig in and tell us a little bit about, let's go right in and talk about the most common challenges you see in relationships.
So I would say from the very beginning, when we meet with a couple, everybody comes there to tell on the other person. They come there to say, hey, this is how I'm not being fulfilled. Hey, this was the offense that happened towards me. Hey, I don't know how long I can do this. And you know what's in the middle of that? I would say it this way. When all we can focus on is us, I is getting in the way. I is the letter in the middle of pride. And usually that goes before all of your challenges, because somewhere along the way, you made a decision that you didn't deserve what was happening across the table.
That's good. What's coming into my mind when you say this, if I say this wrong, and I think this is a Bible verse, y'all don't judge me. I know the Bible. I don't study it to repeat it. That pride goes before the fall.
That's it.
And literally, what's interesting about that is, and I remember somebody said this once, and I'm probably going to say this wrong too. When you point the finger at one person, you got really three and a thumb, three and a thumb pointing back at you. And we were talking beforehand, and what I find is interesting is in my previous relationship. So I'm married, been married for 15 years. It's been 15, Jesus. Anyway, and my previous two relationships, I kept feeling like I was in the same movie. I kept thinking, somebody get me out of this doggone movie. I keep getting the same script. But what was coming in the movie? It was me. I kept blaming the men, and he did this and he did that. And then when I stopped and looked at me and said, oh, I'm accepting less than I deserve. So that comes to our next question, because this is so real. Why is understanding your core values really really contributes to the health of your relationship. Now, let me say this before she answers that, because I know she's about to go in. I hadn't stopped. Listen, every relationship, when things are going wrong, I bet you, I know from my own experience, it's bumping up against your values. And when you don't
Absolutely.
stop and understand your values or stop and recognize it's bumping up against, and so for me, Placida, you can answer this either way. As a strong Black woman, I'm gonna keep it real, y'all. We on Black Doctor. Can I keep it real?
Absolutely.
People say I'm being too picky or my standards were too high and men would be intimidated by me. So I started to lower my standards, which is why the previous two places I was accepting less.
Absolutely. Well, you are helping bring it all to the forefront, because the bottom line is when you go against your core values, you believe, a lot of us think, oh, I'm authentic, I'm real. You are inauthentic at that point. You are betraying yourself. And
Ooh,
so,
wait a minute, y'all. Wait. She just said a nugget. You are betraying yourself. Ooh, okay,
mhm,
wait a minute. So we're thinking the other person's betraying us. No, we're betraying ourselves.
absolutely.
Sorry, my allergies are acting crazy today.
That's
So go ahead.
okay.
That was just so good. I had to stop and just say that
So,
again.
so when you betray yourself, you teach other people that it's also okay to do that. So,
Mm,
as you begin to understand and actually unpack, because a lot of us have grown up existing, right? Listen, a lot of us come from the struggle. I know where you're from, Compton.
mhm, mhm.
Hello. I grew up in Long Island, New York, and then my parents split. I ended up in Queens, Brooklyn, and back and forth. Friends, there's trauma there, right? So we are just trying to make it. When did
Wait,
you start
wait.
to?
And let's unpack that some more. Okay. So, and you guys hear me talk about this. So literally, so there's so many different levels because everybody's trauma from where they're from is different. Okay.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
there's trauma from growing up in the hood. That's one.
mhm.
And that could be layered right there. We say stuff like, I'm a rob Peter to pay Paul. So when you rob Peter to pay Paul with your money, how you think that affects your relationships?
Listen,
Or
listen.
I'm gonna keep it all the way real. In my hood, because I might be a little cute, people would say to me, "Oh, you need to meet a baller and marry a baller," which in my neighborhood was a drug dealer.
Mhm, mhm.
So what does that mean about how I feel about me? So I need someone else to define my esteem,
You
and I need
go.
material things to
There you
define my
go.
esteem. And then when I would tell people I don't want that, they would go, "Well, what's wrong with you?" Nothing.
Hmm.
But
I
that
didn't
stuff
want
is
you
still
to buy
in
me a
me.
drink.
No,
I
but
got to the club.
that stuff was still in me though, Placida. So even though
Right.
I was denying it, I hadn't done the work to take it out. And then so on
Absolutely.
top of that, I grew up in an abusive household. Okay. So
Mhm.
I'm being transparent because I want you guys to get that that's my layer.
That's right.
Everybody has layers. There's no such thing as a perfect family or background. So
Mhm.
what Placida is saying to you is you've got to find the layers that you're putting stuff on top of. So degrees on top of, now I got a great business, now I got a great marriage. But if I just keep putting stuff on top of it, the problem is still there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to go back to something you said. The messages, the messaging that's happening all the while.
Yes.
Please believe that you're taking that stuff in. It's now becoming written on your heart instead of the word of God being written on your heart, right?
Woo.
You got the messages. Oh, you need to marry a baller. Oh, you too cute. You think you too much, right? Oh, I remember there was a message that was given to me by someone very dear to me. You ain't ever going to get married. You're too much.
Mm,
Nobody's going to be able to handle that. I believed
mm.
it. But what I want to say is the worst messaging, or
Wait,
let
wait,
me
can we unpack that for a minute? Because wait, y'all that are here, if someone has said to you that you're too much or your standards are too high, please tell us that we're not alone. Because people say that to me too. And what I realized is my standards were too high for that person.
for that person.
Hmm.
So they had to bring me down in their words to where they were.
Hmm.
Love them to pieces. Y'all listen, some of this happened from our parents. Some of this happened from our siblings. Some of it happened from your friend group.
Yeah.
They was mad that you was getting the numbers and they wasn't. So they had to minimize, who you are. But guess what, guys? The conversation that mattered the most was yours. You are
Mm.
the first person to hear what you say. So
Ooh.
now we get all these messages
Hmm.
and we speak them back to our, yeah, I might be too much. I know how I'm loud. I'm this, I'm that. But God, the very same gift that God gave me, Placida speaks, right? I speak, I teach, I, impart, I exhort, can also be my curse though. I spent
Mm.
a lot of time going back and forth with people in my life, trying to dispute what God already said was, right?
Mm,
And I spent, just like you, time in 20 years, if I'm specific, in a relationship that wasn't meant for me. And that's
yeah.
not to take away from the person that he is, but my freedom and my power came when I realized that I drive my relationship.
Oh, come on, somebody. Wait a minute, because girl, you be dropping nuggets and you keep going. I drive my relationship. So for me, I call it giving my remote. I had given my remote to everybody else, and they were controlling how I felt about me. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't until I snatched my remote back. And the reason I do that is because how many of y'all, those of you that are married or, with a significant other, y'all fight over the remote? That would be me and my husband. So I realized that I kept giving it away instead of fighting to keep it. And it wasn't
Absolutely.
until so that last bad breakup. Now, let me tell y'all, this is not my husband. Okay. So my last bad breakup, and I'm being transparent because somebody, listen, if somebody would have said this stuff to me, I probably would not have been dealing with all the stuff I was dealing with. So I was dating a public official. So not only was it a bad breakup, but it was public. Okay. So for me, and then, so when we broke up, I was rolling in the ground crying. Let me keep it real. Like, why do you pick her? Right. All that stuff we do. And then I said, wait a minute, stop. I had to stop myself and say, that's not God. If
Mm,
God is my heavenly Father and loves me, why would that be a gift from
mm.
God? That's not God.
That's
But I
not God.
wasn't feeling it in my flesh, but I kept having to say it to myself. And
That's
it was
it.
then that I realized it was like when I started saying that to myself, all the memories of all the things that he had done that I had accepted, it wasn't his fault, it was mine. Because I
Oh,
allowed it, like you just said.
oh.
And I started saying, okay, never again. So when I met my husband, he tried a little bit. Now he didn't
Mm.
try a lot of it because he could handle me. He tried a little, but I was out. I wasn't accepting it. I was like, this has been great. You're great. You better hope I'm here when you come back because you will be back. But I'm getting married.
I know
And
that's right.
be to you.
I
Right.
know
And I
that's
couldn't believe it was coming out of my mouth. I was like, oh, I can't believe I said that. I was trying to pull it back. But because I believed in myself, Placida, it changed everything. But it was that day, that night, when I said, God, this is not you. I've got to trust you and not my
right.
flesh and not what I'm feeling like. Why would he not pick me? Is what I kept saying to myself.
Hmm. Hmm. I actually blame God. I was in that space and I'm like, why would you let me love him like this? Like,
Mm,
why can't I let go? So
mm,
we are signing up for strongholds. We don't
mm.
want to do this thing the way it was laid out for us to do it. And then we're mad because we have the residue or the consequence. Now, God is not a condemning God, but he will allow you to deal with the natural consequences of
Right.
your decisions.
But tell
And
us
so,
about strongholds, because look, she dropping nuggets. Y'all so fast and furious, and maybe y'all are catching them, but I'm stopping. Like, hold on now. Tell us about those people that don't. Now we hear the word. Those of you that are in church, there's church words we hear all the time, but sometimes we don't stop long enough to peel them back. So tell folks what, and sometimes I might say strongholds, and Placida might say they might mean two different things. So when you
yeah,
say
well,
strongholds,
I'm going
tell
to
us.
tell you this about a stronghold. A stronghold is when you are in your choices, right? Connect you to something or someone, right? And a stronghold doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like if you look it up in the dictionary, even biblically, there can be a stronghold that can actually build a fort and protect you from the elements that be. But then
Right.
there's those strong. You see how I said build a fort? What if you're connected to the things that shouldn't be?
Ooh,
What if you made a choice and now I am spiritually connected because I don't want to go into the graphical display, but when we sleep with these people that we're sleeping with, we are now connected and we have to receive, ladies. We receive him into ourselves and we say a lot of times nowadays, I don't care, I can do that, whatever. But guess what? There is a stronghold, and now you're connected to things that you didn't know you or that you were signing up for.
okay,
That's
so Placida's trying to be nice. I'm not going to be nice. Okay. So when
mhm.
you're sleeping with people, a man is making a deposit into you.
There
So
you
when
go.
he makes a deposit, he's coming into you. Okay, y'all. I'm not trying to be graphic, but y'all are grown, so you can work out the rest. So
Hello.
so he's coming into you. He leaves. He's out. For women, it's like we keep that. If that's making sense. So if someone comes to your house, their spirit is still there. That's right. Lisa says soul ties. That's right. And Tanya says soul ties. That's right. And so sometimes, y'all, we don't realize that it could be 5 people ago. It could be what happened with your mom and your dad. It could be that you didn't grow up in a functional relationship. So for me, I didn't grow up in a functional relationship. So I had never seen what one looked like. So I decided that last time, let me stop and define what I want my relationship to look like. Can I tell
Hmm.
you, my husband, I couldn't even have asked for Daryl. I met Daryl the next day, y'all, when I wrote
Mm.
that out. I'm not kidding. I didn't expect that I was done. I was like, I'm gonna be single, Lord, and date you, is what I said. But if I'm gonna get a man, this is what I want. Now, not on a I want him to have a job and not like that. I want us to have a mutual relationship. I want us to support one another. I want a man that gets what I do, don't fight me, but actually adds to it. So I started saying it in a more value driven way. I want someone that likes to have fun. So I got really clear on the values, and going back to something Placida said a few minutes ago, that really define who I am. I'm a God's girl, but I like ratchet music. Don't judge me. I
Right.
love to have fun. And yes, I said ratchet. I did until I realized what they said. I'm like, oh, Lord Jesus. Then I'm clutching my pearls. Did they say that? And it's my husband. It tells you what it says. But anyway, but you got to be clear on what are those things that are important to you that you are uncompromising, and then stop compromising who you be to
Come
be
on,
in.
can you stop right there? I need you to pause because you said you dropped the nugget. Come on. So here's this thing about compromise. Do you know I spent 20 years trying to make somebody believe that I was good enough, that I was worthy? Actually, it was 15 years because after 15 years, we actually got married. But I didn't realize that I was in deception, right? Because the thing
Mm,
about people who are deceived, they don't know it. So,
right.
ladies, some of us have been deceived. We're sitting in deception, but we have come here today to help you be released from that stronghold.
Come
So,
on.
so Eric, thank you, sir, for putting up. I love that
Hey,
man.
husband. Hey,
That
husband.
man
So
there.
he put up
Um,
and look, he got her back. He's here. Like, let me look it up. Let me write it in for
Right,
y'all.
right, right.
Hey,
But there are
Eric.
areas of life where we are allowing the enemy to have a higher ground over the Lord. What did the Lord say?
Whew.
What did he say? How did he tell you? Why are you compromising? Why are you compromising? So
And
back to
can I
this
tell
you
you?
drive. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm
Good, so
getting in.
good. So why you compromise? So here's the thing I want you guys to get. So we talking about relationships, but some of y'all are doing this in your business. So if I
Yes.
keep it all the way real, there was a time when my business was broken. And this was the same time that I was in broken relationships. And I kept thinking it was two separate things. It wasn't, because everywhere you go, there you
There
are.
you are.
So my brokenness was in every arena I played in. So here's what I want y'all to get. I hired a coach at that time. So some of you guys have heard my story. I'm gonna make it short because we ain't got that much time. I've been doing this 29 years. 17 years in, my business looked successful on paper. I was only generating $13,000 in my business. And so I was broken. I look good on the outside. Oh, girl, I looked it. I looked the part, but I was not playing a role. Okay.
Mm,
So anyway, so to make a long story short, prayed about it. God led me to a coach. Coach cost 30,000.
hmm.
You reap what you sow. I had never sown into my business. Many of you want a great relationship, but you won't even sow into you to
That's
get
it.
to a place
That's
that you
it.
love yourself, so that you then can sow into a great relationship. Don't mean
That's
some
right.
of y'all want good kids, but you won't sow into your kids. But anyway, let me not go into all of that. But here's what I
Yes.
want you to get. Coach coaches me. I started making, literally, I went from 13,000 to over 600,000. I mean, excuse me, to 200,000 within 6 months. 13,000 to 200,000 within 6 months. So in that time, Placida, and I'll never forget this. Now, before then, y'all, I had been speaking for free. So I'd fly myself up and I put myself up out, fly myself there and put myself up too. So right when I had this whole epiphany, started making money with my coach, the first place I called me to speak was a church. I was like, for real,
Hmm.
Lord? For real? Now I know my value. I'm not gonna settle for less. I'm not gonna play small. So the first lady says, well, how much, is your speaking fee? I told her, and then I hushed. And she said, okay. I was thinking, she said, okay. And then she said, do you want to stay at the Hilton or the Marriott? Is there an airline you prefer? So when I hung the phone up, I said, for real, Lord? Here's what God said back to me. Service and struggle should never coexist. Why
That's
would
it.
I give you a gift and want you to struggle in it? And so I'm saying that right now, because why would God want you to be in relationship with someone and want it not to be a loving, fruitful, happy
Mhm.
relationship?
Mhm. And you said it in the beginning. What both of you support each other. You're not. I remember being in a relationship feeling like someone was in competition with me. Why?
Hmm.
I'm not competing with you. I want you to win. If you win, we win together.
Right.
So, so the hard things that I say, the things that I do, because ladies, nobody's asking you to not be your authentic self. Speak the truth to your husband. Speak the
Hmm.
truth to your significant other, but speak it in love. Like
Yeah.
this raw, real thing that we have developed that we think is so powerful, it's fake power, right?
Woo!
We don't have to be so harsh. A lot of our hearts have been wounded. And I am so very sorry. If I could apologize to you for the person that hurt you, I would. But I am saying that God wants you to heal, and your healing is in him, and he
Yeah.
can break down that stony heart that you have. So you have to start with you. That
Right.
person, I'm not condoning anything that is going on across the table. A lot of times there are a lot of things that we mishandle, but guess what? You do too. You do
Mm-hmm.
too, right?
And here's the
Somebody
other
has
thing too.
mishandled you, but you've probably done that as well.
And here's the other thing too. When we talk about toxic relationships, sometimes it's not the other person that's toxic. Sometimes it's you.
Absolutely.
And you've got to be willing to do the work as hard as it is. And some of the time, listen, I used to be, and people don't believe this. So I'm from South Central LA. So if y'all saw Boys in the Hood, I was probably more like Regina King's character because I was a ghetto. I was between her and Nia Long because I went to private school, but I was a ghetto hot mess. I mean, I could cuss you out like nobody's business. Okay.
Right.
So I used to be one of them women, a hand on my hip, cuss you out,
Mm-hmm.
always angry. Matter of fact, I saw a guy I knew from college. This is so funny at a Black Enterprise event a couple years ago, and I said, "Oh, hey, so and so, come sit with us." He was like, "Oh, you're speaking to me?" Because I used to be a hot mess, y'all, but I was masking my low self esteem,
Absolutely.
and I blamed it on
Absolutely.
everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't until when I started doing this work and I got called into the ministry in 1993, because this is ministry, by the way. Ministry means to
Mm-hmm.
serve, doesn't have to happen
That's
in church. Okay.
that's it.
So when I got called into my work and I started working with teenage girls, one of my girls, they start calling me out like, what's wrong with you? Like, what you mean? What's wrong with me? Right. So I realized, how can I teach someone or want something for someone else that I don't have for myself?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is it. That's the key. Would you marry you is simply this. You drive your relationship. You drive your business. You drive. That's the acronym that we use. And let me just break it down real quick for you
Woo,
guys.
I love it.
Your
Come on,
assessment
Weaver.
starts first. So your assessment, right? So we can do an assessment of you, but you also have to do an assessment of
Now,
yourself.
did you say you drive you? Is that what you just said?
You drive you. Okay, you drive is the acronym. So your assessment, outcomes desired. What do you really want? Not what. Slow down a minute. I don't want what Nicole has. I don't want what Placida has. What do you want? What are your outcomes that are desired? Not just in your relationship, but in your life. Because guess what? Your life lays the foundation for you to thrive in your relationship. So if you are a hot mess at work and all this stress is coming on you because you're trying to do a million things, and then you show up for your significant other as a hot mess, well, guess what? You drive your relationship. What you think is coming from that?
And
What?
here's the thing I want to add to that too. So I'm trying to put this on here. O equals outcomes, y'all. So the other thing I want to add to that is, and I said this on an episode of my, those of you that don't listen to my podcast, here's my invitation, fpppodcast.com. An episode I talked about the equation for emotions, and it's E plus R equals O. If you want to get your emotions in check, it's emotions plus reaction equal the outcome. So
Mm,
when someone does something to you, you have a choice. Let's think about Will Smith. I ain't going too long because it's almost over, right? Will Smith had a choice in that moment, but he chose that reaction he chose.
I like to say
And
it like,
look where his career is as the outcome, y'all. But had he chose a different reaction and said, maybe calm down and talk to Chris Rock behind stage later. And it still could have been heated, but it would have been off camera and would have been behind stage. The
come on.
outcome would be different. I think so many times as you're looking at outcome, people don't realize that, again, all the stuff that you're coming in. She talks about that you assessment. Anyway, I
Mhm.
just want y'all to get that. Okay, let me be quiet so you can finish. Go ahead.
Yes, so the outcome, that piece, I just want to say this. There's another O that is real important. It's offense. It's your choice to take offense or not. If
Yeah.
you can choose to take offense, or you can choose to learn and grow in that moment. And you can
Hmm.
also choose to help someone else grow. So
Hmm.
offense is an option, y'all. You don't have to take it. You can use it and have it work for you for your good. So you now understanding your barriers and triggers, right? What is working against me? What's
Right.
my barriers? What is it working against me getting the outcomes that I desire? Why, where am I triggered? How do I find myself skinning my knees all the time? And like
I love
Nicole
it.
said, I was showing up the same way in all these relationships, and I wasn't understanding what was triggering me, right? Okay, so then D, drive. Define your core values. What? So for me, I'll give you an example. Honesty is crucial. Y'all, that's also a trigger. You lie to me, I change up. Like I turn into something else. And I'm like, because I can't work with it. If it
Yeah.
isn't, so from to some people, it's like, oh, it's just a little white lie. They were, cover. No, for me, it's non-negotiable. as Dr. Nicole shared, it's a non-negotiable. We're going to be
Mhm.
honest in this relationship. We get through anything together. But if you're honest with me, so what are your core values? We give our clients a relationship toolkit, tools that we didn't know existed. We need in a relationship. As Erica always says, if you got you want to put a nail in the wall, you need a hammer. You don't need a pocket knife,
Look,
right?
and sometimes you don't even need a hammer. You need, okay, so I'm about to say something so wrong, Eric. Don't laugh at me. So you know the little thing that you put is a hole and you put a screw in there, and
Yes.
then you use that to hang a picture. Sometimes it's not a nail. That's why you need a toolkit, because then you know the
That's
difference between that little screw thing. Okay, y'all, you can tell I don't know nothing about a tool. That
Listen, I'm
screw
trying to
thing
figure out
and a
what it
nail.
was, what it's called myself right now, but I know what you're talking about. And once you have that relationship toolkit, you can ignite your relationship. Now,
Mm,
you will begin to see and experience a level of contentment and fulfillment that you haven't. You know why? Because you're not reacting like you used to. Because everything is not worth a reaction, and
right.
every moment is not the time to respond. So you begin to understand how to maneuver so your relationship can be ignited. And then we can't leave the equation without valuing your relationship. Dr. Nicole talked earlier about valuing yourself. That's crucial because if you don't stop to value yourself, you can't give the best. You can't give the best away to others when you don't even know what the best is in you.
Hmm.
So you do things that are specifically valuing yourself. And that
Right.
looks different for each of us. But how do you value your relationship? Some people feel like it's an option to date your husband. It's
Okay.
an option to spend. Everybody else gets your time, the kids, the work, the whatever, the girlfriends. But do you value your relationship?
Yeah.
Do you place a value in your relationship? And then y'all execute. Execute. So you drive your relationship. You drive it. If you have the skills, and I want us to realize a lot of what we're doing, we don't know any better. You can do better when you know better. We weren't given the tools and the skills. Many of us, as I go back to what I was sharing in the beginning, we're just existing through life. We were, doing our best to dodge what was coming at us and make it
Mhm.
and some of us are the first time that anyone in our family is going to college has been us. Anybody who's like my sister here, who Dr. Nicole, she has her doctorate. That might be, I don't know her story, but that could be the first person in her family that's done
It
something on
is.
this level.
I'm the first person in my family went to college, so it is.
That's a heavy weight to carry.
Right.
um, and so we pay attention to all of that, and sometimes we forget that the outcome of that is up to us.
Yep. Which
Okay.
is
So
perfect
yeah.
segue to her free gift. Because listen, what she just said for me, when you are the only person in your family, in your community that's done something, people sometimes try to make you feel guilty or
Mhm.
make you feel some kind of way about the thing you've chosen to do for you, which is perfect segue to your free gift.
Absolutely. So one of the things, and again, I'm going to real quick go back to the beginning of the conversation. When we get to the table with couples and even individuals, there is usually lots of shame. What I've done, why am I here? Dr. Nicole talked about rolling on the floor. Like, why did he choose her? We have a shame and a blame that we must release in order to
Mm.
actually receive the life that God has for us. And this journal will walk you through with scriptures and prompts on how to get to the deeper layers of what's really going on in your heart, how to release that shame, how to release that blame. Stop blaming the person across the table and begin to focus on you. You are a gift, you are a masterpiece. And God put you here for a reason. And before you get to interact and relate to someone else, you get to do that for yourself.
So good, so good. So y'all listen, go to Brass Wellness. That's her last name, by the way. Brass Wellness .com/shame. Part of her last name, I should say.
Mhm.
Brass Wellness .com, and make sure y'all spell it right. Okay. If you hooked on phonics, then take a screenshot like me. I'm no judgment. Okay. Brass Wellness
Wellness
.com.
forward, yes,
Shame.
brasswellness.com/shame. Yes.
Right. And
And
somebody said here too, which was good. Your coach is vital to knowing how to use your toolkit. So here's my invitation to you, because Placida has gone all the way in. Those of you that know, like you need a relationship coach, then let me just say in full disclosure, when you get this gift, you're going to be in her email list. So reply to the email and say, I need help in relationship. I want you to be bold enough to ask for what you desire and deserve. So that's number one. I didn't ask her, could I do that? But I know it's all right. That's number one.
Mhm.
Number two, and then tell her what help you need. Just don't say, I need help. Tell her this is the kind of help you need, because here's the thing, you got to be clear on compromising with what you need. Those of you that know, like that you need help and it's time to build a business, I want to also invite you. Placid has given so much in the last 30 minutes, and we're wrapping up because I'm always committed to be here for 30 minutes, around relationships. But here's the yummy part. I've been blessed to play a part in her journey and be her coach over the last year. And so we started that journey at my 2-day coaching intensive last October, Be the Answer. So it's coming up next week, y'all. We still have spots left. So do you want to give them some insight as to how Be the Answer helped you, Placida?
I cannot even tell you that. I for sure know that my business would not be where it is today if it were not for my coach. I was doing so many different things. I was distracted. And Dr. Nicole helped me to get centered and focused around what my true purpose was, and to allow me not to feel guilty about serving people at the level that God has called me to serve them, and just to put my business in a structure my business, find systems that work for my business. I can tell you that this will be the best gift that you can give to yourself if you have a business in your heart, in your gut, or even if you're in your baby steps. I was in my baby steps of my business, but now my business, in full disclosure, is prospering.
And,
I'm
and,
limited with
and
the
let me
number of.
say this. I'm excited. I'm not going to say the whole thing. You could say it because I didn't ask her permission about this either. So as soon as she got clear and we really started doing the work and started to narrow her focus, because so many people want to try to be everything to everybody, which Possible was kind of doing that. But as soon as she got clear, she got a huge offer that moved her across country. So I want you guys to get that God is, listen, so many of you guys are waiting on God. You praying about it, and praying about it. God has opportunity waiting for you.
Absolutely.
He already did his part. He gave you a gift. He's done. He wants to look at what will you do with what he's already given you. And so I want to say thank you, Placida, for pouring all your gifts into us and showing us how you've been able to stand in the gap for couples, for women and for men, how you and your husband play together so that you can stand the gap individually and collectively for couples, and for just coming in and giving us some yummy insight. So one more time, those of you that want her free gift, let me put it up again. brasswellness.com/shame. Get your free shame release journal and do the work of the journal. Don't just get it, do the work, because it will bless your life. Those of you, again, that know you need help in this relationship arena, email her and she'll tell her what you need so she can really get clear on the best way, because nobody I bring here sells people. We serve people. So she's going to serve you. She needs to know what you need so she can serve you. And then those of you that are ready to start a business, I look forward to serving you. We start our pre-activation activity on Monday. It's a full week of pre-activation, but then the event is next Friday and Saturday. You get a bonus training too that you can start this weekend. You can start tonight, you can start today. BeTheAnswerIntensive.com. Go, you'll see all that you get in those 2 days where I walk you through all the systems you need to start or grow your purpose-focused business. So with that said, Placid, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your insight and for being a relationship soldier girl. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. I appreciate you. Words can't express. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
So listen, Placid and I could talk for the next hour. So let me stop it there. So with that said, y'all, that was another phenomenal episode. Listen, I got excited and got insight like I was a guest. I hope you got insight as well. If you got any value out of our conversation, I want you to do two things. One, share it in the comments below. Two, I want you to actually share the video. And I don't ask you to share it to grow my reach. I ask you to share because there's somebody in your tribe, whether that's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or have you, that has been praying for this insight. And they're one click away from their breakthrough. And it'll be because you shared it. So share this insight so they can be blessed by Placida's brilliance. All right. So with that said, thank you for joining us for this episode of the Bankroll Your Brains Thursday. So in full disclosure, I'll be on hiatus for the next few weeks because I have an event next weekend. So we'll play repeats, but we'll be back in a few weeks with new episodes. All right. So with that, have a phenomenal rest of your Thursday, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye.